as many weeks, it's 27-year-old Aleta Sill. She'll be starting from the number 5 position. Her opponent in game number 1 is 13-time champion Nichols of Algonquin, Illinois. Donna Adamek, who captured her 17th career title just 3 weeks ago, will begin from the middle of the stack, while second-year pro Wakefield of Elmira, New York, is qualified in the runner-up position. And, of course, nailing down the top position this week is 21-year-old right-hander Gianotti of Perth, Australia, this year's WIBC Queens champion. The $45,000 Brunswick Open. Hi, everyone. I'm Denny Schreiner, and welcome to the Hoosier State for week number 4 of the LPBT Tour on ESPN. And working with me once again here this week, Leila Wagner, who actually took the week off, got a little rest, and stayed at home. And Leila, the lane conditioning this week, a little longer and heavier oil, I guess, it forced some of the players to change their game plans.
Well, yes, it did, Denny. We see players like Gianotti and Donna Adamek actually usually liking to circle the ball, crossing the boards, as we say. This week, they were having to go from right to left instead of left to right. Other players like Wakefield, Nichols, this is more natural for them to play straighter up. Now, the right-handers were playing right around the 10th, 12th board. The lefties, however, they were able to play right around the 10th, 12th board, but actually circling the ball more and swinging the ball out a little bit more than the right-handers.
And we did, of course, have one outstanding left-hander make the telecast, and Aleta Sill. She's trying to make it 2 in a row for the first time since 1985. And what are her chances starting from the 5 slot?
Well, Aleta hasn't been very successful from the lower positions, Denny. She's won 12 out of 16 titles from either the number 1 or number 2 spot. However, she is the only left-hander to play this evening, so her shot is going to hold up a little bit better and remain more consistent. If she gets lined up, she might go through the whole field.
And let's move from the bottom of the field to the top in Gianatti, the 21-year-old from Perth, Australia. She has never led an LPBT event heading into the telecast, and you had a chance to chat with her a little while ago. She's not sure what the game plan is for tonight.
Well, she really isn't. Now, she is getting more television time, a little bit more at ease being out here on the show. However, she says, I've never been in that number 1 position, but with her carefree, aggressive attitude, Denny, I think she's going to put on a great show for us tonight.
Should be a terrific telecast. First time ever that the ladies have bowled in Hammond, Indiana. The crowds have been spectacular. We'll be back with the
appearances between the 2 of these players.
Of course, Aleta coming off the big victory last week would like to open up quickly Nichols, and she does, or may open up quickly with a washout.
Talked to Aleta a little bit earlier, Denny. She said she woke up apparently on the wrong side of the bed or somehow, and you'll see her kind of niching her neck a little bit. She definitely has pulled something or has a very strong muscle there that's really painful when she bowls. She was very disappointed in that this morning. She tried to find a chiropractor or something to do, help her out, and she never did.
Makes a run at it, but it's an open frame for Aleta Sill in the first, who shakes her head, so Nichols gets an opportunity to start quickly here in match number 1.
Lori's philosophy this week, take a little bit more time. She's usually a very quick player, and her friends in the back, Judy and Connie Zula said, Lori, you need to slow down a little bit.
She also needs to hang on to the bowling ball a little better than that opening shot right there. That was Drop City.
Well, she ended up dropping it in the right spot. Lori, basic 4-step approach player, actually 5-step approach player. Not a lot of knee bend, but one consistent player throughout the years.
Well, that one's left to target again. Nichols, who hasn't been able to buy a break on national television, spends most of her money in the first 2 frames.
When you see a smile out of her, she was also told, smile occasionally, have some fun. She says, there hasn't been anything to smile about. I've been on 7 times and haven't done too well. So that was definitely something to smile about.
Down and in it goes, so Aleta Sill comes back with a strike.
Take a look at Aleta's game. Now, Aleta, also a 4-step approach player, has almost a little crook in her elbow as she comes through. Good knee bend, stays down low at the line. Oh, nice adjustment off the washout, and she cuts the lead to just 11. A nice trouble for the way she's feeling. I'm sure she's really just glad to get the ball off her hand.
Well, let's see if Lori Nichols is able to gear down a little bit and get the ball to the right side of the head pin with this shot.
Oh, well, she carried 2 Brooklyns, Denny. Nice adjustment, carried perfectly that time for Lori, so she did make the adjustment. The lanes are finishing a little bit more than they have been earlier in the week, Denny. The players are seeing the balls actually making a little bit move to the left towards the pocket versus having to try to fit the ball into the pocket.
The lanes were very tight most of the week, and there wasn't much room to the right. If you made that mistake, it was normally a washout or something of that nature. She goes 4 in a row, and she leaves the solid 5 pin.
Shot there where the ball really didn't finish. The ball deflecting when it hits the pocket doesn't take out the 5 pin.
Aleta working on a double right now, trailing by 20. Qualifying number 3, Donna Adamek. Karen Wakefield is number 2, and Carol Giannotti. The lady from Down Under, Perth, Australia, is our top seed this week. So, Lori Nichols with a spare in the 4th leads this one by 20. We'll be back with more of the opening match. We're concerned that we had nearly 2,000 calls in that 90-minute program, and well, the men doing a little better job than the ladies, and that surprises me. But look at the average. We'll see that on the next page. As far as the average for our players throughout the country, it's 171.
Well, usually the higher average players really do watch in and tune in and trying to get better with the game. So
trying to develop it.
Surprise me.
And the average age, 35 years, and 43.2% of the players using 16-pound balls. Some interesting questions and answers. It gives us a little better feel for who is watching each and every week. And, of course, we'll have a question for you a little later on. The question now has been answered by Aleta Sill. She is rallying to the charge here. She's thrown the last 3, and she's cut the lead now to just 10.
And with a little shake of her head, she really threw that shot nicely, too, Denny.
Well,
so I think she's in tremendous pain.
What I really like about Aleta Sill is whether it's opening round of the tournament or match play, position round of the championship round, really is able to focus and dial in and concentrate.
She was the player that had set the record for money winnings in a single season with 81,000 prior to Lisa Wagner breaking that record last year with over 100,000. So Aleta has been able to dial in many times and throw a lot of strikes for titles. However, she has never won a title from the number 5 position.
Started with a washout, now has thrown 4 in a row, putting the pressure back on Lori Nichols. Lori opened with the first 3. Excellent shot for Lori. So we've got a pretty tight match here to start the evening.
A real good match here. Lori carrying 2 crossovers. Her first 2 attempts came back solid in the pocket the next 2 times and managed to carry that one. So
little operation with the tape here. We mentioned she lost the first couple of shots, so she's gone quickly to the tape. Her thumb must have gone down a little bit.
It looks like she is having a little bit of a problem. Here's a shot of the last ball that she threw, and you can see there just all 10 pins flush.
Trying to regain the advantage here. She liked it. Oh, my goodness. Got a break, but the head pin came back and got the 5, but she left the 7. You think the left-hand lane's a little tighter than the right-hand lane?
It appears that the left-hand lane's not finishing quite as hard as the right-hand lane, meaning that just the last few feet that the ball makes its move left, it's just not doing so as hard on 33, so it's not driving into the pocket.
Well, they average just a fraction under 190 on the television pair throughout the week. Lanes 33 and 34 here at Olympia Lanes. So all 5 of our players combined average 201.8, so the scores were in the moderate range this week. However, tonight it looks like they're a little up.
Amazing that all the scores were so close between 2nd and 5th place. They all averaged 201, and then Carol Giannotti managed to average 203, so it was very tight throughout the tournament.
Right back at him, and Aleta Sill has a 5-bagger working, and she's in the midst right now of trying to make a runaway here of match number 1.
Now, what Aleta Sill is going to find is her shot's really not going to break down throughout the night, Denny. She looks very lined up, as you say, and as we mentioned in the opening, this type of condition for her, she could go all the way through the field, keeping up this pace.
Only 2 left-handers in the top 24. Dee Dee Davidson also made with a cut. Lori trying to look the other way. And soft 7 left that time after the 5-bagger. Nice round of applause from the fans who have turned out in full force this evening.
Good crowds here this week, and 3 busloads of old-timers. An national organization is on hand tonight cheering the ladies on.
Shinier equipment for a little less hook, so Aleta Sill spares up in the 7th, and she takes over the lead here in game number 1. We'll be back with the conclusion. Lori Nichols trailing in this one when we return. Great bowling ball that is. $8,000 for first and the trophy. That's a pretty good deal.
Beautiful trophy, and nice sponsor here this week. Brunswick becoming involved in the women's tour very heavily.
That's right. My good friend Brian Collins down. He'll be presenting either the check or the trophy, Vice President of Marketing for Brunswick Corporation. And they've done a marvelous job also with Team USA as well. So big things in the sport of bowling. Oh my, right through the nose, and the baby split is left for Lori Nichols, who shakes her head on the way back. She didn't like it.
No, she knew that was a mistake, Denny. She hit inside of her target. She's been hitting more around the 2nd arrow. This one hits definitely around the 12th, 13th board, going left and crossing over, leaving herself with the baby split. Now she'll want to try to fit this ball right between the 3 and the 10 pin.
Got a hook.
Oh, looked like she was going to get it, but a little hit on the leg there.
Well, television round play has not been a pretty sight for Lori Nichols. This is her 17th consecutive appearance in the championship round without winning a title thus far. So she's trying to win match number 1, get some momentum going, and she's run into a very tough opponent in Aleta Sill here this evening.
I think Lori's key is to actually qualify higher, Denny. That way she's got a little bit more momentum coming up in the number 1, number 2 position. I think we'd see her win if she qualifies higher.
Awful tough to start in the 4 or 5 slot, and the odds are against you even in the 3 position.
They sure are. I've been there a lot of times.
That's right. 7 times in her illustrious career has Leila Wagner finished 5th. Hey, 5th's better than 6th, right?
You bet.
Aleta Sill back on the ball here on lane 34, right at him, and she's got it rolling right now, and Lori is very much aware of that.
Well, when Aleta gets on, like you said, she does get dialed in, and it's really going to be hard for her to, you're not going to see her miss. You may see her leave a 7-pin shot. Interesting angle. That way, harder to tell from the left-hand side. But you can see how all the pins just went to the back.
Possible 258 if she would strike all the way out. That's a big game in game number 1. She gets the swisher hit, so she strikes in the 9th, and regardless of what Lori Nichols does in the 9th and the 10th, Aleta Sill will have an opportunity to win this match.
Lori needing to definitely catch a few strikes here to even stay in the match, hoping Aleta may open up.
Well, Lori can still shoot 236, but she has to start right here.
Hope she crosses over, and I don't think Lori is going to remember a time where she's thrown 4 crossover shots. Brooklyn strikes in 1 game.
She's thrown 2 doubles on the Brooklyn side. Well, at least she's consistent.
Exactly.
Her husband Terry in Las Vegas this evening, driving his car all the way from Chicago to California, and he's a big-time Chicago Cubs fan, so the pressure is on for him to keep switching channels back and forth. Cubbies are losing, and so is Lori. She bounces back with an excellent shot, and she can shoot 230.
Well, that's the key, Denny, is when a professional can come back and make a good shot off of getting a break like this one right here. This is the crossover shot, which gave her the double in the 9th frame. It hit inside her mark, the ball hooking. It was perfect. Now, here's the first one in the 10th. The ball stays on a straighter line, a little farther out, sits right in the pocket.
Back to live action in the 11th. Got through it nicely. Is trying to hold pocket, and she gives it the old 4-6. So disaster steps up in the 11th, and Aleta right now, you can see the computer churning. She's figuring, okay, what does Lori end up with, and what do I need to win?
Well, with Lori's 8-pin counts on the spare and the turkey, Denny, has caused her to lose pin count. So really, Aleta has a little bit of an advantage there. She's going to need 9 pins. She won't even really need a spare with good count.
Makes the job obviously a lot easier for Aleta Sill, but a split obviously would create some problems.
Yes, it would. Laura's sitting on the bench now with 2:23.
Pretty good game, but with the exception that she did throw a couple of shots to the left side of the head pin, but she was overdue for a couple of breaks. Normally this lady takes advantage of every situation. She does there. The door just slammed closed. And so for Lori Nichols, it'll be a fifth-place finish here in Hammond, Indiana.
She's going after the record of fifth-place finishes as well. I know her cousins Jack, Jill, Jim, and Ryan out in California, who have been watching Lori faithfully on television, have been hoping for a little bit more success for her. That's another fifth-place finish.
To pull off all the patches, and for the 13th time in her career, she'll end up in the number 5 position. Aleta Sill will advance, and now we'll have to kind of develop the storyline of can the left-hander perhaps climb all the way up the ladder and win the championship.
She looks like she has a good shot here, good pace, 2:46 with a spare conversion.
Nothing like a quick start.
They are, Denny, with a 2:01 average to make the television show, a 192 average to make match play, with two scores such as 240 to 220. You can see the lanes are finishing a little bit more than they have been throughout the week, causing a lot better carry for the players.
And the fans continue to applaud, but that's only a practice shot.
Donna's really having a successful year here this year. She was able to capture the Columbia 300 Delaware Open.
She's also made 3 of the last 4 championship rounds, so she's been a very hot player as of late, and she is meeting someone right now who is obviously lined up on the championship round pair, Aleta Sill. Ooh, bit of a bad break there, almost a double team on the 10-pin, and the 9-year veteran ends up having to try and spare here in the first.
Looking for the wall shot there. Wasn't able to get the 10 out.
Lori Nichols finished up 5th and collected a check worth $2,000. Lori now at a little better than $28,000 for the season.
If Aleta should happen to win here this evening, Denny, she'll be the 4th person to go over $50,000 in a single season. Now, we've never really had more than 2 players to do that, so it really shows you how the prize money is growing out here on the women's tour, and the amount of events has also increased.
Donna Adamek nearly leaving the 4-9, and it didn't take the mighty mite long to go out there and rip one right up the track.
Now, we mentioned about Donna changing her game a little bit in the opening. Now, she really normally likes to circle the ball, open up her shoulder, go right with it. She wasn't able to do that this week. I've never seen Donna throw the ball so straight up the line. Now, she was playing real tight, 10-12 forward, and really keeping it on target. And I know this isn't easy for her to do, and she was able to do it. So it shows you what kind of player she really is.
I think really to truly be successful over time on the tour, you have to know all the little tricks, and you have to be able to change hand positions or shoulder positions or whatever to do what you have to do to strike every week.
Now, the trick she used this week, Denny, was to actually drop her push away a little bit quicker, keep her arm swing or her back swing a little lower, and that kept her closed.
And also kept her right in the pocket. Excellent shot, and she appears to be in a good position here. Just drilled the pocket with both shots.
She sure did. Aleta has some tough competition.
Swishes the rack again, and this time she leaves the 7. So 2 near identical hits and basically 2 9 counts.
Leaving herself with the 7-pin, the 4-pin not doing its job. Just sat right in front of the 7.
Last week, Aleta defeating Nikki Giannoulias, 217 to 206. Capture career championship number 16. Looks like Donna is starting to zone out a little bit there, huh?
Definitely in a trance. I think she's watching Aleta, but not watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Aleta, 2-time Bowler of the Year, a 4-time Bowler's Journal All-American, and a 4-time WIBC All-American. So she's had a very successful 9 years out here on the tour.
This one through the nose. First really errant shot on lane 33 other than the washout that she left in the opening frame against Lori Nichols. So she'll be tested here with the baby split for the left-handers.
Wanting to fit the ball right between the 2 and the 7 pin. She is switching to a harder surface ball when she shoots at her 7 pin. And it doesn't make it back.
Slides on by, so an open frame in the third. Donna Adamek working on the strike, leads by 14, could advance to 24 pins up if she strikes here.
Donna sat out a couple of years. Back in the mid-'80s, she was a 4-time Bowler of the Year between 1978 and 1981. Now, she let that one way far to the right.
Leaves the 2-4-5, and throughout the week, that might have been 3 off the right.
You bet. And she knows she has a little bit more area to the right, but that one, she got ahead of herself, a little bit ahead of the ball, and it wasn't able to make it back. This is what happens when you get a little too open, Denny, and you're not able to close in time, and the lanes are on the tight side, as you might say.
Right at the spare, and she chops it right off the 5. So both players with open frames in the third, and this one has tightened up considerably. Now it is just a 2-pin match. Donna still leading by 2 sticks.
Donna coming off a leg injury last week. Carol Giannotti went in for her, finished out the tournament. It's still bothering her, she says, but she's out here to compete, so kind of grin and bear it. Doesn't seem to be really affecting her bowling too much.
Opts for a re-rack on lane 33. Struck on that lane her last trip. Yeah, this one didn't circle to the right, and it ended up in the pocket. So the errant shot cost her in the third as she chops off the 2-4-5, but a perfect shot for her on the left-hand lane, and Donna Adamek in a position to perhaps double up when we return here to Hammond, Indiana, Olympia Lanes for the finals of the $45,000 Brunswick Open. And there's our telephone survey for this evening, the 1-900-446-ESPN number. Geez, an amazing question here. Could an LPBT bowler beat a PBA bowler? Boy, I know that you feel strongly about the fact that you would win, Leila.
Oh, definitely, Denny. Anything in a one-game match can happen. It doesn't matter if you're female, male, or whatever. And I think there's a lot of women out here that could win in best-of-5 matches and also the best-of-7 matches.
Well, you better get to a telephone quickly because it's only 95 cents per minute. Touch-tone phones only, and we'll be giving those results a little later on. And, of course, every 50th caller ends up with a 10th anniversary ESPN banner. So we want you to get involved, have a little fun with us here this evening, and determine whether the women are better players than the men.
Well, we know how you feel on that.
You do? I didn't say anything. How would you know how I felt about that? Why, I'm very much the diplomat along those lines. I think they're all very, very good players, and I think that's where I'll continue to stay.
Well, Aleta answering your question there. Excellent shot. She gets the carry here for her first strike in the second match. So she does carry the wall shot. Gets the mix on the head pin there.
Threw a couple like that in the first and the second and couldn't strike on either of them. Trying to double up here and regain the lead in the match. Leaves the 3-pin, almost a cave-in that time.
Well, Aleta going high last time, leaving herself with the 2-7. Made the adjustment, coming up a little bit light, leaving herself with the 3-pin. Aleta has won 2 times this year, both in Detroit, and like we mentioned just last week in Baltimore.
No problem whatsoever in the 5th. For the 27-year-old from Dearborn, Michigan. Donna leads by 2, is on a strike, and could make her presence known here in match number 2 if she doubles up right now.
caught this in the first frame, Denny. She got the break when the 9-pin fell out, and she just drilled the pocket that time. Really an excellent shot, keeping the ball direct on line, but it just finishes a little bit too hard. Watch the reaction. Now, the ball is supposed to take out the 9-pin. It just drove too hard to the left and didn't do it.
And not even close on the attempted spare, so an open in the 5th, and that really would explain why the errant shot in the 3rd when she threw the ball out the window. She almost left the 4-9 in the 1st, made the adjustment, felt like she might have thrown a bad shot in the 3rd, went right back to the same spot and left the 4-9. So she goes from leading by 2 and a chance to double to trailing by 12. Back and forth match here in game number 2. She's loved this lane.
Well, we mentioned lane 33 might be a little tighter. We thought not finishing quite as hard for Lori Nichols. Well, the same is playing here for Donna. Lane 34 is finishing quite a bit harder. That's why she's leaving the 4-9.
Comes back with a strike, though. That's the key. After both opens in the 3rd and the 5th, she came back and summoned up enough character to X. She'll still have an opportunity to double, but meanwhile, Aleta leads by 12 here. Trying to win her 2nd consecutive match.
Donna adjusting her thumb hole in her spare ball. That's the ball she used to shoot her spares with.
Pros are always constantly fidgeting with their equipment.
You know, I find that to be truer in women as well, Denny. It's the way the hands go up and down, I think, just with swelling and whatnot. It's a little bit more so in women than the men.
And a key double in the 6th and the 7th gives Aleta Sill a 22-pin advantage. And when we come back,
she jumped across the lane and yelled to the audience to mount.
No kidding.
She was excited.
Well, she had a good time. Trying to double, and the 2-pin had a notion, but just didn't quite fall.
Well, looking again, making that adjustment off the 4-9. Now, Donna, 5-step approach, using all of the approach to get up that ball speed. She stands 5 foot, small, good extension, great follow-through, and good knee bend. Just a real nice game.
Needed that strike to cut the lead to 12, so it remains at a 22-pin advantage, and meanwhile, Sill is still working on the double.
Donna really needing to get it going here in the 8th frame. Now, she likes lane 33. She had the option of which lane to choose to finish on, and she is going to finish on her good lane, so we may see that make a difference here in this match.
That last shot on 34 nearly struck, about a board too far to the right. Got to give herself any kind of... Boy, she's just thrown 4 excellent shots on lane 33, and sometimes I don't think the fans really appreciate how much difference there is between 2 lanes and how tough it is to get them both scoped in.
Well, that's true, and then other times you see certain players, they get a little bit more aggressive looking for the double, as in Stacy Ryder mentions that's what she does. So even though the lanes are different, you really have to keep your composure as well. Well,
the bucket caves in for Aleta Sill.
Now, the conditioner could be carrying down a little bit for Aleta, or else she's not getting through the ball quite as well because of her neck injury. So we'll have to see if it continues for her to hit light. Winning her very first pro title at the age of 19. She actually started bowling when she was 5 years old.
A spare up in the 8th, 214. The highest score that Aleta could shoot if she would strike out. 204 would be the best possible game for Donna Adamek.
Aleta wanting this one here in the 9th frame, or else she's really shooting at a 190 pace, so giving Donna a good chance to step right up and strike out.
I think if Donna could hit the right-hand lane, she might be right there. Pressure shot for Aleta Sill. And this one runs a little high, leads to 6-10. So Donna Adamek is going to have an opportunity to win this match.
Donna can close her out. Now, Aleta coming up high on that shot. Looked like she really let up on her ball speed, Denny. Really didn't keep her ball speed up, and the ball hooked a little bit too much for her. The best possible score Aleta can have with the spare right here is 2-0.
Stood there for a moment and watched that to make sure that she converted the 6-10. That's pretty simple. 2 strikes and 9, she's a winner. I'll make that 3 strikes and 9.
The key right here on lane 34.
To admire a player that trusts it to the right, Isla. You had a big smile on your face when she struck there. You know how tough that is for a player.
Well, it is, Denny, and you always have to trust the ball to the right now rather than trying to send it up. She has not had an opportunity to strike on this lane. She got the wall shot. Now she needs 2 strikes and 9 pins to shut Aleta out.
Absolutely perfect on that left-hand lane. There are 5 carbon copy shots. They've all looked exactly the same.
Now this 10-pin, slow to fall, Denny, but it does make it. Watch the 6-pin here. Catch it just at the end. I'll knock you.
A little belly nudge there as it wraps around Aleta, realizing one more strike, and she is in dire straits. Ooh, 10-pin falls over, nearly caught the 3. Now, Aleta Sill, in her mind, is saying, all right, now I can still step up their double and win the match.
One of the toughest things to do, Denny, is get up on a lane that you have not missed on and know that you have not missed on it. It actually adds the pressure to you.
That 10-pin falling was a key break in count, too, because it forces Sill to double to beat her. She might have been able to tie. So 193 for Donna Adamek. Aleta Sill needs 2 strikes and just a touch of count to advance.
Oh, and an excellent shot there. Throwing a 4-pin right around the 7. Donna looking over at the scoreboard, realizing that she is a winner in this match.
Classy shot by Aleta Sill. Absolutely beautiful shot. Just an unlucky break to leave the solid 7. Donna, I think, realizing as well what a clutch shot that was for Aleta Sill, and so Aleta not only has a pain in the neck, but have a pain in the pocketbook now as well.
Well, Donna really coming on strong there in the end, Denny. A great finish with 3 strikes, forcing Aleta to get the double.
And for her, it was the big shot in the 9th, the strike in the right-hand lane. So a game of 190. Excellent match. 193 to 190. Donna Adamek advances here.
Coming on strong. See Tori Romeo up there.
And I look at the way the rest of the finishers. Robin Romeo actually qualified in the top 24, but she's got a bit of a pulled muscle in her right leg, and it's been bothering her a little bit, and she said, I just don't think I can go. I want to take a little time off. Lisa Wagner at 26th this week and had an opportunity to fly home, get a couple of days off. She's one tired player.
Well, that's one player that is out on the road a lot doing exhibitions and extra work for Brunswick.
Adamek out of the gate and leaves the solid 10 on lane 33.
Now lane 33, her good lane, as you said, leaving the solid 10. Switching balls now to shoot the 10-pin. Donna is one player that's had problems with it, picking up the 10-pin, especially on national television. But no problem this time.
So Adamek opens with a spare after defeating Aleta Sill 193 to 190. And the blue eyes of Karen Wakefield up on the approach, lane 34, second appearance in the championship round in the last 3 weeks.
her best 1989 finish or career. Finishes third, and that just came a few weeks ago in the AMS Virginia Classic.
And she misses the pocket a touch to the right and leaves the 2.45.
As you can see here, Karen also using the whole approach, a 5-step approach, very low at going to the line, but actually raises up a little bit early. But this is her natural game, and she's been pretty successful with it out here so far.
Crosses over and converts to 2.45, and I had to kid her a little bit. Her brother, obviously, is Ryan Schaefer, who is a former PBA Rookie of the Year and a former ABC Singles Champion, and he is one of the players that just tears the cover off the ball, hooks it from end to end, and I said, boy, you obviously learned a lot from your brother.
Well, this is her husband. And he and her father, Art Schaefer, drove in from Elmira.
And a smile from Karen. Nice applause for the strike in the second.
So Donna looking for a strike now on lane 34. Finally capturing one in the ninth frame last game.
Making a nice adjustment on the right-hand lane. That's about as good a shot as she's thrown there.
Looked like she moved in a little bit, tightened up the line around the 12th board.
Player of her talent, too. Once you give her a game to get loose and win a match, she's normally pretty tough to handle.
She's won 3 titles from the number 3rd position.
Straight with the board, plenty of speed, and so she doubles up in the second and the third, puts the pressure back on Karen Wakefield.
Karen having a lot of pressure put on her in the past, formerly bowling with West Texas State. She was also a representative in the 1989 International Youth Bowling Championship in the Philippines. Once again, another fine collegiate player coming up.
Well, that one's through the nose, and one a little bit light, and then that one a little bit high, and I think he's pleased about breaking up the split anyway.
You bet. A big smile from Art. Very instrumental in coaching Karen throughout her career.
Of the 5 finalists this evening, she had the highest average on the championship round there, averaged 236. She had just 1 game on this year, so, you know, she was probably feeling good about 33 and 34 coming into tonight.
She also won the most matches of any of our top 5 players. She came away with 17 matches, so that really helped her out.
17-6 and 1 tie this week for Karen Wakefield. Carol Giannotti, the 21-year-old right-hander from Perth, Australia, our top seed this evening. The winner of this match will take on the talented Giannotti. Gives it some room, shakes the 5-pin around, but the 5 will stand.
Looking for the wall shot to carry there. The ball deflecting when it hits the pocket. Does not carry out the 5-pin.
Does she make an adjustment on her strike ball while shooting the 5 here?
Usually the players actually just shoot their strike ball, Denny.
So was left of the 5, but picked it up nonetheless here this evening. He'll be presenting at the end of this one tonight.
My roommate, Judy Sutar, also working for Brunswick, speaks very highly of this man because he's just done wonderful things for bowling.
Well, very active, involved. Of course, they've just signed Brian Boss a little while ago. Adamek with a dice-o-matic strike in the 4th.
You know you're getting good ball reaction, Denny, when you see the 5-pin go left. And this is the power, the amount of revolution she can create. Now, her nickname was the Mighty Mite, and it's just for that reason she's able to get a lot of lift, a lot of fingers in the ball. Donna recently opened up a pro shop in Azusa, California, the Bowler's Lane Pro Shop. So the folks out there can go see her and visit her. get some good advice on new equipment.
Well, if anybody could tell him, she could. I think she does something that's very interesting throughout match play, and I don't know if she does it in qualifying or not, but in between matches, even between shots a lot of times, she throws the stereo headphones on. Is she listening to music or positive mental attitude tapes or what?
She's usually listening to music, Denny. It's just one form of getting into your own world, concentrating, and totally blocking out everything else around you.
Probably listening to We Are the Champions.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
Karen looking to get back into this match.
Right-hand lane has been a mystery thus far for Karen Wakefield. 3 shots, and she's yet to get a strike.
Doesn't really look like she's throwing the ball with as much power on it, Denny. She usually has a little bit more ball speed, a little bit more aggressive to the line. And a lot of players, especially after their first time on television, have told me that, you know, you get up there and you feel like you're throwing it as hard and fast as you can, but it's really going in slow motion, and I felt the same way in certain matches.
Continues to spare, and with the spare now trails by 22.
Karen, an accountant on her time off. She joined the tour after tax season, and her boss, Don Mustico, has been very helpful in letting her off for the off season of accounting and to participate out here on tour. That was a super shot right there, throwing a 6 right around the 10. Now definitely getting a better ball reaction on lane 33. Here we can see a shot of her approach. She's a little bit high at the line, but this is her natural game. Watch the 6-pin just flies around the 10. She really thought she threw a good shot, and she did throw a good shot, just didn't carry.
Trying to get something started, but she'll have to wait until the 7th frame in order to do so.
Donna checking the rack, making sure all pins are on spot. It's one thing you don't want to do is get up there and make a great shot and leave something that you might not normally have left.
Plenty of speed. Boy, she is really making some beautiful shots.
Once she's lined in on lane 34, you can see from the lower front angle and the result. Taking this match well in hand.
Trying to double and extend the lead, and oh my, you could hear that 10-pin all the way out to Chicago.
Once again, just a great shot on lane 33, the 6-pin thrown around the 10. Now, a player won't adjust for a 10-pin like that, Denny. Usually, the ball's just coming up a little bit late. It can just be as much as, you know, a half a foot, inches, that the ball finishes behind the head pin, throwing that 6 right into the 10.
I was used to make the verbal adjustment when I would leave the solid 10. Of course, didn't do me any good, won't do anybody else any good either. But we'll be back with the conclusion of match number lanes, and truly a unique success story here. Of Greek descent, came over here I think when he was 19 years old and has done marvelous things here in Hammond, Indiana.
I think he owns half the town, Denny.
I think he does too, and I think we're sitting in the half that he does own.
Well, that we are.
Funny guy and outstanding host for the ladies this week. She needs the strike, and she leaves the solid 4. And what I love about Karen Wakefield is she comes back and still shows me those pearly whites.
Big smile from Karen. No, she made a good shot. You know, the ball just finished a little hard, left herself a 4-pin. Now, the last 2 shots, she could have caught a double with any luck at all.
And, of course, for those of you geographically are wondering where Hammond, Indiana really lies, it's basically just 30 minutes from downtown Chicago.
That's in no traffic.
Right. It's 15 minutes if you take helicopter. If you take the train, what, like an hour?
You have your own helicopter, right?
Yes, sure. Producer George Smith and director Ken Samuel and I travel by helicopter weekly, if not the limousine, so. Wakefield trailing by 24, and she needs to get something started because Donna Adamek won't wait for her. Well, Lori Nichols used the Brooklyn throughout most of game number 1 to great success. Karen's picking up where Lori left off.
Well, she didn't carry the 10-pin or the 4-pin in the pocket, so yeah, why not? Catch a break on the other side. As you can see here, the ball's going to cross over. Looks like it's going to set, but it makes a left turn. Big smile there. Okay, if you're going to give it to me, I'll take it.
Set it a little short, and that's the result. Soft 10-pin for Donna Adamek in the 8th.
The ball sliding a little too long. Denny didn't make a hard break back. The 6-pin line in the channel.
You know, many people feel that the key to scoring on synthetic lanes, which is what we have this week at Olympia Lanes, is speed control, being able to throw the ball basically about the same speed on every single shot. It appears it's more important to do that on the synthetics than on the hard plastic surfaces.
I think that's probably true with the amount of synthetic tournaments that we do see on our tour. We're in more and more, especially adding Olympia Lanes here this week. About four events of the year are on synthetics.
Possible 238 for Donna Adamek. 225, the top score for Karen Wakefield. Sneaks up a little bit. A riot on hand, but the 4-pin never touched.
Knowing she really made a bad shot there, shook her head as she came back, sending the ball a little too far to the right. Once again, the natural instinct for Donna to go right with the ball. It's not natural for her to close up.
And what amazes me so much about the game of bowling, Leila, is the fact that last game, Donna Adamek couldn't miss on the left-hand lane, and now the left-hand lane's become the lane that's given her a few problems. It just goes to show you that conditioner is always moving.
It is always moving, and once again, you also know that you get so locked in on a lane that the mental pressure to get up and strike again on that lane is even more so. You know you're locked up, you know you should strike, so you sort of make a bad shot.
Pocket, and it doesn't, and Karen Wakefield is fortunate to walk away with just the 6-pin. If she spares here and strikes out, it would be a game of 205. Donna right now shooting at 217 with just a mark and some count. She's had her opportunities, Leila. She just hasn't been able to step up and strike.
No, we haven't seen too many strikes out of Karen. Only 2 strikes so far in the game. One of them crossing over. So she really hasn't felt comfortable on this pair of lanes this evening.
But no opens. She's made every one of her spares.
No, that's important. A lot of times that can win you a match.
Well, she's still in a situation. If she strikes out and shoots 205, if something drastic happens to Donna in the 10th, she can still walk away a winner.
Step up in the 10th frame, put a little pressure on now. That was the first strike. She needs the next strike here. And you're right, she could force Donna to at least get up and stay pretty clean.
A strike here forces Adamek to mark in the 10th frame to advance into the championship. Needed some help and didn't get it. So Donna Adamek basically ends up with a freebie here in the semifinal game, and she's aware of it right at this point.
I don't know if you'd call it a freebie, Denny. Now, Karen,
well,
the 190...
you don't have to mark when you get up in the 10th.
Right.
I mean, that to me is an easy way to get there. You don't think so?
Well, she worked hard to get there up until this frame.
Well, she's stuck in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Key to put the pressure on early in a match, then the pressure isn't on late.
So a game of 195 for Karen Wakefield, but it's not going to be enough.
And this was not an easy spare to convert with the sleeper back there. Watch the ball take out both the 3M, the 9-pin, and the 10. Just perfect conversion.
Watch this ball take them all out right there. A power shot. Slash LaRue, if you would, on lane 34.
A big smile there, Donna talking to herself just through that ball superbly as the 5-pin just ripped the racket.
It's amazing how loose that swing gets, though, when you don't have to mark or strike.
You bet.
So for the second time in the last 4 weeks, Donna Adamek will have an opportunity to win a championship here on ESPN. Oh, the love tap from the 6th. And when it goes right, it just all goes right.
Well, that's right. We see that many times in a match coming up. Now, we haven't really seen Donna catch any breaks, so she's really worked hard and got everything that she deserves.
And if you're Carol Giannotti, what lane do you want her to finish on? Any lane in particular, or are you trying to choose your best lane?
It looks like Donna's got both lanes pretty well figured out. I think Carol should really concentrate on her best lane at this point.
Yeah, she should have Donna finish on lane 41, perhaps. There's only 40 in the building. Well, 227 to 195, the winner.
Carol starting off the match. Oh, nice shot. Oh, my.
Now, wait a minute. Where did that pin come from? Giannotti with the consummate break here to start the match.
Goodness, that pin came out of the pit. I'm not even sure. Let's try to figure out which pin this was. I don't think it was the head pin. It wasn't.
No, it was like the 2 pin.
Wow.
Look at that. Unbelievable. And that's what Donna Adamek said. But Donna said, you know, I'll strike on my own on the right-hand lane, and so she did. The 2 pin. It had to be the 2 pin. Maybe we'll get one more look at that.
Interesting.
It's either the 2 or the 4, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't the head pin.
Nope, and it wasn't the 7.
No. 5.
I think we've narrowed it down.
How many pins are left? Donna taking a re-rack. Now, the players are allowed 1 re-rack per game. And if they would like any others, they have to call on our tournament director, Fran Wolf. She'll step in, check the pins, see if they're on spot, and either allow or disallow the re-rack.
The number to call if you want to get involved in our survey here this evening. Keep in mind that every 50th caller receives a 10th anniversary banner. Looking to double. And this one, I have a feeling, is going to heat up real early. Donna
looking very tough, very aggressive. Carol also coming out with the opening shot. Taking a little bit of time, a little bit deep breath. Now the player that's a little bit more nervous right now in this match has got to be Carol.
Doesn't waste much time. Lots of speed. Sliding by the head pin and leaves the 8 count.
Not really getting that ball off her hand with enough revolution to get the ball to finish hard enough. She came back, kind of wiped her thumb. I think she lost it a little bit early. Now, she normally does set the ball short. And this ball just slid by the head pin, just catching it.
Bucket disintegrated. Got a break there. So a spare up for the Free Spirit from down under.
Really a nice game that she has here. 5-step approach. 3 little steps at the end. Right there, and a nice slide. Look how low she is to the line. Good wrist. Good quick release.
Powerful player. Great hand action. Set that one way and gets it to sit in the pocket. So Giannotti with a strike on the left-hand lane. Trails in the match by 10. Only 2 completely different personalities, too. That one by the head pin and the 2-pin stand.
Donna letting that ball out a little bit farther. Doesn't come back up. Carol trying to keep her hands dry. You mentioned the personality. Carol, very carefree, outgoing, very Australian, as you might say, as you hear about the Australians. She's just like that. A lot of fun, is out here to enjoy life.
Good day.
Good day. And Donna also. Donna's just a lot more quiet of a player.
Yeah, Donna Adamek yucks it up once in a while. I mean,
Yes,
anyone, and I don't know if we can get a shot of this, but anyone who would wear Donald Duck socks on national television certainly has a sense of humor.
Well, she collects Donald Ducks. That's one of her hobbies. And she has many of them, including the ones on her socks. Coming back with a great shot there, just leaving a ringing 10. Donna's been traveling in a motorhome with Joyce Nevico, and there's a shot at her socks. There's Donald there. Joyce Nevico has been a traveling companion, good friend from home. Husband Lou, been at home watching Donna's success every week.
So a spare up in the fourth for Donna Adamek, who now leads by 8. But more importantly, Carol Giannotti working on a strike here now in the fourth.
A big strike here in the fourth for Carol. Put her right back in the match.
Ooh, the 6-pin fell, and a fortunate miss. Giannotti heads back to the ball return.
Setting that ball short, pulling the ball inside her target. The ball hits straight on the head pin. And the ball pins come over, knock out the 6. A good break there, giving her one pin spare versus the 6-10.
You almost sense a little bit, Leila, as if she doesn't really want to swing the ball in lane 34, but she's going to have to if she wants to strike.
Well, she made the adjustment. She swung the first one, almost left the bucket, just got away with it, leaving the 2-5. That time she made the difference. A big move there between the second and third round for Carol, from 35th all the way to second.
And then she dropped to 9th, but then regained the number 1 position. Brilliant bowling last evening in the final 8 games of match play.
In her big move, I asked her, what the difference was in her game, and she said, well, normally she angles her body off to the right to swing the ball. She made the big move by actually angling her body to the left and trying to play real closed, real tight, getting her shoulders lined up to the left, and that made the big difference for her.
Of course, if your shoulders are more square at the line, it's very difficult to leak the ball to the right, which was the out of bounds this week at Olympia Lanes. Tight championship match to the winner, $8,000 and the Brunswick Open title, and a powerful shot provided by Adamek in the 5th.
That ball just really holding line once again, still around the 12th, 13th board now. Donna's playing lane 34, very tight, and that ball just held line.
The double. Oh my, that was as good a shot as she has thrown all week long, so the pressure shifted back over to Giannatti.
Carol having won title, the WIBC Queens event. She won earlier this spring. Her other high finish has been second, which was in Rockford, Illinois just last year, and she did that on her birthday.
It's been the problem lane, and she's still trying to figure out lane 34. The question is, will she figure it out quick enough?
Well, she's going to have to figure it out real quick because Donna looks real tough.
Adamek working on the double. That would have been an opportune time for Giannotti to strike, but now she trails by 18.
The 2-8 spare, a difficult spare, wanting to go very direct, trying to cover both pins.
Needs it, and she throws it away. So Giannotti opens up in the 6th and swings the door wide open for Donna Adamek here in the championship match. Coming up at the completion of the Brunswick Open here this evening, stand by for Bob Lee and Dan Patrick on ESPN's Sports Center. The key stories obviously this evening, the National League and American League playoffs, and also a sad note to report, the great Secretariat, one of the finest racehorses of all time, is dead. So stay tuned for Dan Patrick and Bob Lee on Sports Center.
Coming up high again on lane 33, not really feeling comfortable. Doesn't look like she's able to come out and get lined up here in the title match, Dan.
Hardest thing in the world to do is to sit for the better part of an hour and 15 minutes, watch people compete, all the butterflies floating around. Then you have 4 practice shots to get out there and determine where you're going to play the lanes. And when you play somebody like Donna Adamek, who's had 2 games to get ready, that's a tough call.
It is a tough call, and Carol was able to come out. She did practice an hour and a half ago, and now she came out. Being the top seed, she's allowed 6 practice balls, and a lot of times that's just really not enough, because the lanes can change quite a bit during the telecast.
Plenty of speed, and I think you saw the adjustment right at the line. She really ripped that one through because she knew She was a little ahead of that shot, but nevertheless leaves the 4-pin. She left the 4-9 in game number 2, but since that time, she's bowled brilliantly on lane 34.
Well, I definitely think she moved in with where she was playing to compensate for the hard finish in the back end. That one, she did just rip through a little bit of extra fingers. The ball finished a little too hard, and she left herself with the 4-pin. A big title came for Donna in 1987 with the 1988, Samstown National Pro-Am. That was her first title since 1983. Like I mentioned before, she did take a couple years off. So this has been a real big comeback year for her, coming back now in 1989 and to prove that she's still out here and still can win.
Not a good shot there. A little ahead of herself one more time. Carol Giannotti realizing that time is running out for her here in the championship game.
Donna wanting to at least stay clean, keeping the pressure on Carol, wanting to pick up this spare, and it's not an easy spare. It has the sleeper. The 9-pin is sitting behind the 3-pin. And she's got the 6 and the 10 to worry about, too.
That's plenty. Stood straight up on it, and she picked up the spare. Nice shot, and there you see the big sigh of relief, because had she missed there, Giannotti would have had a golden opportunity. Now, for Carol, if she would strike out from the 8th, she could shoot a game of 218.
Which would force Donna to catch a double.
She still has a pretty good shot if she could figure out this lane. Good shot. Oh, what a dandy. Well, that was the clutch shot of the week for Carol Giannotti.
Perfect shot, Denny. Just beautiful. After not being able to hit lane 34 at all, watch this one. Just stay right on line, right around the 12th board again. Not much belly. All 10.
Acceleration. It goes Brooklyn, and Giannotti doubles in the 8th and the 9th, and boy, does that change the complexion.
The biggest break of the match right there. Brooklyn in the 9th frame. Now Donna must get up and get a double. Catch the one here in the 9th, the first one in the 10th, or the 2 in the 10th.
Possible 233 for Adamek. Doesn't waste much time, gives him some room, and leaves the dinner bucket. Boy, has this one changed dramatically.
Yes, it has. Not coming through that ball with too much lift and fingers on it. The ball sailing out, leaving herself with a bucket. And once again, not an easy conversion, especially when the pressure's on right here in the 9th frame.
Hard and straight. Boy, what a classy pickup that was.
It was, Denny, and the 6 count there on that spare really actually hurt Donna quite a bit. You can see here picking up the spare, a classic conversion as you mentioned. But that 6 count, now she must have 3 strikes to win this match, or to force Carol to get all 3.
So she would shoot 219 and close her out, obviously.
Carol's best possible game, 218.
Unlucky there. Threw a nice shot, first shot in the 10th, and Giannotti, as the numbers flash in front of her eyes, realizes at this stage she could win her 2nd title of 89.
Really a great shot there. The 5-pin ripping in front of the 7. Donna looking as the unlucky one in this match as Carol captures a Brooklyn for the double. Donna gets up and rips it and almost missed the 7-pin.
Well, a couple of minutes ago, life was just ducky for Donna Adamek, but certainly turned around.
Donna had a 30-pin lead back in the 6th frame, and it is now turned around.
The law of diminishing returns.
A strike here would force Carol to get up and strike.
Good aggressive shot. Now she gets the pin action that she needed in the 10th frame. So a solid performance for Donna Adamek, who posts a game of 2:08.
The key strike here, count would have forced Carol only to strike. Now Carol needs 2 strikes and 1 pin.
Hard and straight. Oh, my goodness. A key shot for Giannotti. One more, and she's a winner here in Hammond, Indiana.
Can't get much better than that, Denny. Just walked up there like she's done this many, many times before. We'll see what happens here in the 11th. She needs this one.
Set it short. Oh, Giannatti with a double in the 10th. And the lady from Perth, Australia, really showing her true colors here, as now she just basically needs to stay behind the line to capture the title.